Good afternoon. My name is Stephen Canetto. I'm Associate Dean for the University Libraries. I want to welcome you today to this great presentation. We're sorry about the weather. We can't control the weather, but we're very glad to have you here. I know some of you are soaked, so if you need a towel, just let us know and we'll see what we can provide. We're very glad to have you here today as we present or accept the papers of Fannie and Luther Rhodes, the World War II era letters collection. We're very pleased to have this collection added to Mississippi State University and want to be sure that you all understand and know how much we value this collection. It will become a part of a wide range of collections that we have here at Mississippi State University, and we certainly want to make sure that you know how much we appreciate you donating them to the university. We understand certainly that anytime you're making a donation like this, it is from the heart, and you're giving a piece of yourself, and we want to make sure that you know that these letters will be preserved, they'll be cared for, and made available to researchers and scholars from around the country. We have a great history department here, and their students are active researchers and scholars, and very active students, and we will make them available to those students. We wanted today to take some time to certainly thank you, and we have put together a small program to let you know how this collection will be used in the future. Certainly we want to, as a part of what we do as an academic research library, what we do, of course, is preserve letters like this, preserve collections like this, to make them available for researchers in the future, and make them available for students and scholars in the future. What we do, of course, is preserve them. We make them available to researchers. We'll digitize them and make them available online as well. So not only will students be able to come here and do research, they'll also be able to do research online and read these letters and learn more about the life and times of Fannie and Luther Rhodes. So we very much appreciate you, and we hope you know that how much we appreciate you donating these collections and these letters to us. Like I said, I know it tugs at your heart when you're making a donation like this, and we certainly do appreciate that. As I said, we do have a small program that we put together. We wanted to bring some individuals together to talk to you about the collection and how it will be used in the future. I'm very pleased to have with us Jennifer McGillen, who is our coordinator of manuscripts for Special Collections. She's going to be bringing the significance of the collection, kind of talking about how the collection fits in with the rest of the collection that we have here at Mississippi State University. Also, Dr. Catherine Barbier, we're very pleased to have her as a part of the program. He'll talk about the significance of the collection from a researcher and historian's perspective. We very much appreciate Dr. Barbier being here today. She's on sabbatical, and she had to come back to do this for us. She's a great friend of the library, and we appreciate you coming back and doing this for us. Also, as many of you may know, Louis Gallo, who is the publications editor for the Ulysses S. Grant Presidential Library here at Mississippi State, has been working with the collection for some time. He's been working with Dr. Bice, describing the collection, processing the collection, and making it certainly available, and doing some transcriptions as well as some digitization of the collection. And we very much appreciate him. I asked him earlier today if he would come and talk about the collection, because he's probably the one who has done the most research and really studied his letters, and it would be great for him to come up and talk to the specifics of the collection. And then finally, we wanted Dr. Bice to come forth and talk for a few minutes about the significance of the collection and what it means to donate this collection to Mississippi State University. Before I sit down and turn it over to Jennifer, I just want to again thank you for entrusting this collection to us. At any time, any of the family members, if there are, if you want copies of these letters, feel free to let us know. We'll be glad to make copies and make them available to you. That's a part of what we do at the library. Certainly as you're making the donations to us, we feel like if you need and want to have access to these so that you can study them as well, we'll be glad to do that, so just let us know. Okay. So again, thank you for being here, and at this point I'd like to turn it over to Jennifer.
Hello, everyone. Oh, okay. Can you all hear me in the back without me? Okay. I wasn't sure if I'd use the big teacher voice or not. I'm Jennifer McGillen. I'm the coordinator of manuscripts and special collections, which is directly across the hallway if you want to walk over and stick your heads in the door later. Thank you all for this donation. We really appreciate it. It will join at least 2 other significant collections of World War II letters, the Bridgeforth collection and the Ballard collection. It does not quite open a new theater for us. I think we did have some materials from areas of the world where Luther But it does bring us a new perspective on those areas, and also a new perspective on the war in general, as the soldiers from the other collections. I think one was in Germany, busy riding down Nazis, and I think not quite sure what Mr. Ballard was doing, but he was also in Germany. So this will be a different perspective than soldiers who were with an armed unit, from what I have gathered, from what I've been able to look at so far. And it's also really, really great and really amazing to have both sides of the correspondence and to have that perspective of Fanny's perspective, and to be able for scholars and students to be able to compare her perspective with the wives of other soldiers that we have their letters in our collections. In addition to expanding our World War II collections, these materials will also expand our general military history holdings. We have soldier mail from the Civil War through World War II. Right now, this year, because of anniversary reasons, we've been focusing more on World War I. But this will give us that much extra heft for military historians. So that's about it. And to echo Stephen, you are definitely all more than welcome to visit any time between 7:30 and 5, Monday through Friday. We are also open on Saturdays from 10 to 2. And so if you would like to come up and sit with the letters and visit with them, we absolutely welcome you to do so. And we can do photocopies or scans if you want to sit at home and read it in your pajamas. That's fine. Anybody have any questions for me? No? Okay. All right, with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Barbie.
Hi, how are y'all doing? I know it's a little wet, but as I tell my students, I'm not the Wicked Witch of the West. It's okay if I get wet, because I'm not. I know. All right, so I look at a collection like this from a couple of different perspectives. One as a researcher, but then also as an educator. So a collection like this would be something that my students could come and read the letters and they could get all sorts of information and perspectives. Whether it is from Mrs. Rhodes talking about what's going on at home, because it's important for our students to understand home front during wartime, or if they're reading Mr. Rhodes' letters to see what it's like on the battlefield. And to try and get multiple perspectives from multiple soldiers. With understanding that that's only part of the story, right, and putting it into context. For a researcher, we'd go a step further and try to read between the lines of those letters. I've read a bunch of letters from the First World War, and the soldiers don't talk honestly about what conditions are like because they don't want to worry their families. And so it's looking at the different ways in which soldiers write home and what they say and what they don't say, but what you can figure out they're really saying. And so for us, it's to understand that perspective. There's a lot of stuff written out there about the Second World War, and the vast majority of it is written from the top down, from the leader's perspective. And there's more and more now coming out, firsthand experiences, publications of letters, love letters between couples during wartime. And so it then gets a wider readership, and so it goes beyond what, it allows us as researchers to reach a broader audience so they can understand some of that romanticization of the Second World War. I grew up on those movies. I grew up hearing about the Second World War from my dad, whose cousin died during the war. And so, and I sometimes show those old movies. I love those old movies from the 40s and 50s about the war, but it does tell this glorious perspective of the war. When we get into the letters, that gives us a different perspective. And it allows us to show our students that there are various nuances and various ways of looking at what was going on at various points in time and in various places in terms of this conflict. And so I can't thank you enough as a researcher for making this donation, because it's something I'll be able to send my students over to read these letters and come back and have conversations about what they said and what they meant. So thank you very much.
Hello everyone. How are you guys today? I say you guys because I'm from the north. I don't say y'all. I'm sorry about that.
You got to get over and start saying y'all.
I know, I'm trying. So as Stephen pointed out, I'm actually an editor at the Ulysses S. Grant Presidential Library. I showed up here about September of 2014. Let's see, the place I moved into was a faculty and staff housing on campus, which is where I met David and his wife and his wonderful little children. So they're really the first friends I made in Mississippi. And so while talking with David, he mentioned this collection of letters that he had from his family, which obviously as a documentary editor piqued my interest. I said, I would like to take a look at them. And he offered to show me, and I was pretty much stunned by what I saw. It's a fantastic collection, not just because it's a collection from a couple during World War II, but also because they're both sides of correspondence, right? Which is a rare thing. Usually it's just one-sided. Usually it's from the man's perspective. It's rare to have both sides of the correspondence, especially including women. So it's a really neat little collection. And so I offered my help. I offered to organize and kind of process the letters and put them in chronological order so hopefully we could maybe transcribe them and then if we had the chance to annotate them. So I did that. I think we started maybe in 2015 is when I started working on the letters. And so when I started diving into the letters, like I said, I truly understood just the historical significance of them, especially for the state of Mississippi, right? Because, it's not every day you get to handle original World War II letters. You're usually dealing with copies, or you don't even get to look at the original, so that was a real treat. But some of the things about the collection that Dr. Barbier was talking about that I liked was you get to see Fanny's perspective of the war, right? She's a woman in Mississippi, I would say probably middle-class woman in Mississippi, who's away from her husband, who is, he's everywhere. He's in Burma, he's in Italy, he ends up in China. Essentially, he's laying telecommunication lines for the war effort. So I'm not sure if he saw any direct battles, but needless to say, he was involved with the logistics of the war, which is really neat. But the really cool part, like I said, is Fanny's side of the correspondence. She talks about just everyday life in Mississippi in the 40s. The summer heat, which is still a problem today. You can imagine how hard it would be without air conditioning. That's why she mentions it over and over again. She talks about the wonderful watermelons that she eats. She talks about the food and everything. But the one thing I really like, she talks about the culture, the popular culture from the time. So she'll mention a movie that she saw. She was talking about how she saw the movie The Human Comedy, which I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with it. It's a 1943 movie starring Mickey Rooney. And it's about him as a teenager during World War II. And he's essentially, I think he's working for a telegraph office. It's really emotional movie because it's during the war, and so people are really obviously interested in the topic. And she mentions how when she's watching the movie, she must have cried 2 or 3 times. Because I'm guessing because it hit so close to home for her. So that was a really neat little anecdote. But during the process of writing the letters, David he asked me to find a really good quote that would kind of, just like sum up the themes of the correspondence, right, altogether. And so while reading through, I found a really neat little quote. She talks about how she was listening to the radio, and she heard the song come on called "I'm Thinking Tonight of My Blue Eyes," which is a song by the Carter family, June Carter, Johnny Cash's wife. I think it was originally recorded in 1929. But she mentions this song because it reminded her so much of Luther. Every night he's away, and she's still thinking about it. Which I thought that was a really touching anecdote. It kind of reflects the love they had for one another, even though they were kind of worlds apart. So that was the theme that we put. If you see these little binders over here, you'll see that quote on the front. I'm thinking tonight of my blue eyes. So I just think it's a wonderful collection. I wish I had more time to dive into it. I'm kind of busy with Grant upstairs. Much time to spend on it. I wish I could. That's why Barbier and her students would be fantastic, to work on these letters. But just lastly, I just want to thank David and his family for the wonderful donation to this library, because we really appreciate it, and I'm confident that Jennifer and her team will take good care of the letters. So thank you.
So I'm speaking in front of hundreds and even thousands of people sometimes. There's nothing more terrifying than speaking in front of your family. So I'll just say that at the outset. the outset here. I wanted to just make a few comments about how we got to this point. I know that all of my cousins here, my aunts here, have experienced grandmother taking them back to the house and looking at the letters and the other memorabilia from the war. I was home once when I was away in graduate school at Auburn, sometime in the 2005 to 2007 era, and Grandma said to me, we were sitting up front of the house, and she said, "Hey, let's walk to the back. I want to talk to you about something." And so we started to walk to the back, and her mind diverted to what does she usually talk about when we walk to the back of the house? What's the story? Quilts, but also, what would she say? She would tell that almost every time that she could have hidden the man back there because Granddaddy never went to the back of the house. She started talking about that. But as we made our way back to the bedroom, she remembered what we were back there for, and she took me to the chest of drawers where she stored these letters, and she said, "I've been thinking about it. I want you to take these. I want you to keep them and be sure that they're well taken care of." And so that was quite a charge, I felt like. And so I've thought since then many times about what to do with these letters. And so fast forward to the time that Louis was talking about, that we lived across the street from each other, just a few blocks away in faculty housing, and he told me what he was here for, and I caught my ear, and I thought, well, maybe he could help me think of what we could do with the letter collection that we have from Grandma and Granddaddy, and as he said, we did go down that path. I also, in that time frame, was introduced to Dr. Barbier, and we became fast friends, and she's been to our house and taken a look at the letters, and she assured me that thinking about putting these in a permanent collection in the library would be a very noble thing for our family to do. Louis was very excited about the idea of Mississippi State getting these letters. Dr. Barbier took a more measured and reasoned approach, and excuse me, not to suggest that tears wasn't reason, but she said to me, I remember, you want to be sure that you put them in a place that you're comfortable with. You might want to consider the World War II Museum. Mississippi State's a great place. There are other universities that do World War II research, and so just be sure. So I gave it a lot of thought, and since that time, nearly 3 years ago, I've watched with admiration at the way that Mississippi State Libraries handles its business with the acquisition of the grant papers and establishing the grant library, which I hope that y'all all take time to at least take a quick loop through. Dean Coleman is an institution here, and she's not able to be with us today, but she is just a remarkable leader for this library, and I know without a doubt that they will be well cared for. So I want to say a quick word as well about why today, why the rushed up ceremony for today, and I think y'all in the family know why, but I want our other guests and those that work here in the library to understand the significance of this time. Our family does not have, with the exception of Granddaddy, who's spoken about in these letters, does not have a long history of military service. But in the last few months, we've had 3 of our family members that have committed to serve in the Marine Corps. And I want to recognize them. They're acknowledged in the program, but Colton and Austin Davis, Colton Wofford, Austin Davis, and Brady Davis are all committed to serving in the military. Colton, we're very proud of him. He was just graduated from Harris Island for basic training on Friday and is here with us. He'll leave January 2nd for more training, and then Austin will be away and Brady will be away. So there's probably no time in the foreseeable future that we could all be here together like this. And the military significance of this collection and the gravity of that decision for our family, it just demanded immediate response. And then just a couple of comments about what I saw in the letters from a family member's perspective. You know that saying, the more things change, the more they stay the same. The grandmama that we knew and loved and that loved and cared for us is who's represented in those letters. We experienced only a more mature and a more robust sense of that commitment to family. But you see as you read through those letters, the grandmama talks about, reports back to Granddaddy on what's going on in the community. Who's been sick, who did they go to visit, and what did grandma spend her life doing but going to visit the sick and take care of the people in the community who were in need, take care of her family, to go to family reunions, to organize family reunions. That was who she was, and it's just so touching to read those and to see that wasn't some new development in Grandma. That's who she always was. She also talks a lot about Aunt Carol, who's here with us, was their firstborn child, and her love for family is shown so clearly in her comments about Aunt Carol and Granddaddy's comments back about asking how she's doing. And I also want to make one more remark about what to me is so significant about this. Sometimes Granddaddy came across as gruff and was a military man and a hard-working person, but the significance of him saving these letters and bringing them back from his escapades in training and then as he was abroad is just absolutely, it speaks volumes about his love for Grandma and his commitment to her, and that he wanted to have that token of correspondence that they had. How many men in that era probably got letters and threw them away or used them to start a fire or roll tobacco with them, whatever they might have, but Granddaddy saved them and stored them and brought them back, and they're preserved and now accessible for all of us to see. So it is a great honor to know that they're going to be stored here and preserved here in the Mississippi State University Library. It's an honor for us to make this gift and to have as well the opportunity throughout the future to look at them, to read them, and then to be a party to what research is done from them. I've asked that we be notified when work is done on them, and we the library has indicated that they can try to help us stay abreast of when these are drawn down and used. So it's exciting to know that we will have that access to doctoral level experts that can take these and help us know what they mean. So thank you all.
David, what a great tribute to your grandparents. Thank you so much, and to you, the family, for donating this collection, these letters to us. We know it means a great deal to you, and it certainly means a great deal to us. And we thank you for entrusting it to our care. Louis, thank you for your work in making this collection available to the library, and your friendship to David and his family. We appreciate you stewarding that collection in the right direction, as well as you have. We appreciate your help with that. We do again want to thank you for this collection. We know it means a lot to you, it means a lot to us, and we certainly will do all that we can to make it available to researchers and to students and scholars in the future. Any questions that you would like to ask before we adjourn for a reception? Before we do adjourn, I would also like to recognize, as David did just a second ago, Colton, Austin, and Brady for their commitment to the service, and I want to thank them and give them an Again, thank you, and if you would, we'd love to have join us for a reception and visit with the MSU Library faculty and staff. And we'll also take some pictures before you adjourn, but feel free to take a look at the letters before you leave as well. Thank you.